It is raining cats and dogs here in Lagos, Nigeria. Welcome to a perfect day start to the morning brief. I'm Kayode Okikilu. Call it a one-man army this morning, or one-man tag team. Hopefully, the rain will subside and allow my other members of the tag team join us on the show today. But let's get right into the big stories. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu is on a three-nation trip currently, and well, his first stop is in France, Paris to be precise, which, by the way, is one of his favorite places to visit. He spent over 50 days visiting France since he came to office. So naturally, France ranks #1. But what has he been doing in France? Well, we can tell you that he's been meeting with global investors in Paris, and that's according to a statement from Mr. Bayo Onanuga, the special advisor to the president. And according to that statement, the president has been emphasizing transparency and fiscal discipline, as well as explaining the rationale for the swift implementation of the reforms. The minister, at the meeting rather, we also had the Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, highlighting Nigeria's strong GDP growth in dollar terms for last year. We'll get to take a listen to what exactly played out during that meeting and perhaps get a sense of what to expect from that meeting. Let's take a listen.
We better return on the bonds, there's a consistency. I inherited an economy on the cheetahs, ready to go south. Very serious turnaround, recalibration, the subsidy that was a burden to the entire country was removed, and ever since, today we've achieved the exchange rate stability, like what in the currency we are able to have a better return on the bonds, there's and the consistency is the name of the game, and it shows up serious transparency, and just to captain the team and bring intellectual curiosity to how to navigate the stormy waters of the economy.
Had an engaging session with Mr. President himself, being in attendance, and we're able to give an overview about the progress we are making, about the next areas of focus to deepen the reform and translate the reforms into results, as well as the outlook for what we plan to do going forward. We're also able to answer their questions, and we're also able to get insights about the excitement that they continue to have about the running of the economy, the reforms, and the fact that we're able to give them the commitment, including Mr. President himself, about what we will not do. For example, we will not bring back subsidy because it creates distortion for the economy, and we will not introduce price control because we believe in markets, while at the same time ensuring that regulation is responsible so that there's no supplier, trader, manufacturer taking advantage of the Nigerian people. We see also the issues going on in Iran. While that is unfortunate, we think it presents new opportunities for us as the world looks to diversify sources of energy and investing in new markets, as well as ensuring that Nigeria is able to get the optimal outcome from the price regime to be able to mobilize more revenue and spend that productively to address supply side, and also ensure that we manage inflation as much as possible.
So there you have it. Next stop, by the way, is Kenya, much later from the 11th, and then Rwanda. So give or take, the president shall be back in the country by the middle of the month of May. But back home, let's tell you what has been playing out in the National Assembly. Yes, major defections yet again, the House of Reps and the Senate. But one of the biggest conversations on the floor of the Senate yesterday was about the xenophobic attacks in South Africa. And we can tell you that the Senate has now resolved to constitute a joint ad hoc committee of the Senate and the House of Reps to address the rising cases of xenophobic attacks against Nigerians in South Africa. That committee is to be led by the chairman of the National Assembly and will undertake a fact-finding and diplomatic visit to South Africa aimed at finding lasting solutions to the crisis. But there was a major debate. Senator Adams Oshomole suggesting what he thinks should be done as some sort of retaliatory move against businesses linked to South Africa and Nigeria. And then we had the Senate President Godswill Akpabio waiting and saying, well, this is what should happen. So let's take a listen to the back and forth at the Nigeria Senate, and then we'll tell you more.
To touch any business of South Africa, and won't touch the business of any country. We believe strongly that with diplomatic engagements, these issues will be resolved. But at the same time, we demand justice for those who have been killed. The leadership of the Senate will come up with a strong letter before our visit, condemning the current situation and informing them to call the situation to order.
So my view is that it is time to reciprocate. This Senate should adopt a position that MTN, a South African company that is cutting away millions of dollars from Nigeria every day, that Nigeria nationalize it and withdraw its license, so that Nigerian company can take over the MTN business and recruit more people. Those coming from South Africa will find good jobs working with the company that will replace MTN. And I know that South African president has interest in MTN.
So it will seem good cop, bad cop being played yesterday at the Nigerian Senate. Senator Oshomole saying, well, fine, let's reciprocate in the most painful manner, it would seem. But the Senate President saying, well, nothing of such will happen. We're going to be diplomatic about it, at least for now, and we'll wait to see how things play out. So we expect to, get that committee visit and show in strong terms the displeasure of Nigeria against, or to those attacks against Nigerians and other Africans in South Africa. I mean, it must not go on this way. It's such an absurdity playing out in the big 2026. But on the side, you also had the Senate coming up with some fresh, leadership rules in a manner of speaking, as they made some amendments to the standing orders to restrict eligibility for the office of a Senate President to members of the 10th Assembly first, the 10th Senate first. Then if all the options are exhausted, then senators elected into the Senate for the first time would have a chance to run for the leadership positions in the Senate. And it followed a marathon closed session, after which lawmakers agreed on the new criteria aimed at reinforcing parliamentary hierarchy, experience, and under the revised rules, as I said, only senators who have served 2 terms will be eligible to contest for principal offices. So here's the order of ranking. First, former president of the Senate is eligible to run. Former deputy president of the Senate, also eligible to run. Former principal officers of the Senate, then followed by senators who had served at least 1 term within 4 years. And senators who have been members of the House of Representatives are also eligible. And in the absence of the first 5, then senators elected into the Senate for the first time. So by implication, only senators currently serving in the 10th Assembly are eligible, at least if they make it back to the Senate. And that's a major talking point, because people have asked then, what if they don't make it back, right? Because it's a big assumption to think they would always get re-election. What if they don't make it back? I think that's why they have the 6th option, which is senators elected into the Senate for the first time. But this is a major one, I must say, for those who are looking beyond just what's happening here. They're looking at other people planning to come in. For example, the chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum, Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State. It's been rumored that he may be running for that #1 seat in the Senate. So is this targeted at him? It looks like it, but then the big question also is, how will this play out in terms of the support and the votes for the president? Which region, in quote, is more important to him? Is it the South-South or the Southeast? How are they going to play this to ensure that it does not harm the re-election bid of the president? Because at the heart of this also, the president will be looking to get the most gains from whatever is playing out. But at this point, this is what the Senate says is their, well, new standing orders. Now, will it apply to the 11th Senate? Would someone challenge this in court? Will the court have jurisdiction to rule over this and say, well, you cannot preclude anyone, you cannot limit anyone. Everybody has a right to aspire to lead at any point in Nigeria. Big questions that we'll see the answers in the coming days. But those are the things playing out in the Nigeria Senate, plus more, which we'll get into in the coming moments. But we'll take a quick break now, and when we return, we'll walk you through all of the big stories as Mr. Yoakaria joins us live from our Abuja studio. A second member of my tag team also joins in a moment. Stay with us.
Africa is rising, and we are rising with her. Every day there's a new story, a new challenge, a new discovery, and a new victory. For 30 minutes, Monday through Friday, we bring these to you from Abuja to Accra and from Nairobi to Addis. Network Africa connects the dots, giving you a full picture and bringing the continent closer to you. Network Africa, weekdays at 4:30 p.m. only on Channels Television.
The day begins with news gathering and research.
I need to confirm the story. Directors,
as well as policymakers.
From the business districts to the corporate, the policies, actions, and even inactions of both the fiscal and the monetary authorities make impact.
90% of Nigeria's economy is in the informal sector, just like this market. And take, for example, they're impacted by government policies like inflation rates. Prices keep going up.
While trading is fast and mostly virtual, yet the top stories are set to investing agenda.
Beyond Africa, we got you covered. It's a full menu for you every weekday. Business Morning and Business Incorporated, only on Channels Television.
Get right into the front pages, but just before that, look who's here. Hi,
yes, indeed. Hi, Kayode.
The rain couldn't stop you.
Well, it rained storms and trees on my own side, and by the time I got here, it seemed to, just be getting set to rain. Yeah. Perhaps it had already rained. You know how the dynamics of rain always
works, right?
But speaking of what is raining, it's also raining defections in the lower chamber.
Absolutely.
17 members of the House of Representatives defect from the ADC to the NDC. Of course, that's only coming on the heels of the defection of Mr. Peter Obi and Alhaji Musa Rabiu Kwankwaso from the ADC to the NDC. What does this mean for the 2027 elections? What does this mean for this group of members of the House of Representatives? Is this an automatic ticket for them, once they get to the House of Representatives? And can they pull off this opposition that will result into victory in 2027? Or is this some form of political suicide? Because there's a huge conversation about the NDC structure, how far-reaching, how present rather it is, throughout the country. But the coming days, of course, will be very interesting. I wish we had more time, to dive into this conversation. But perhaps our guest, has our guest newspaper review has some thoughts on this.
We definitely would get into it. We have some of those who defected joining us on this show, and I should say the Senate is also affected. 2 senators moved from the ADC to the NDC. You have to be careful about this, so you don't mix it up. Exactly. And one senator moved from the NNPP to the NDC, so 3 senators affected. But let's get right into the front pages. Mr. Ioakeria is live in our Abuja studio. A member of Nigerian Guild of Editors joins us in a moment as we walk through the big stories on the front pages today. And naturally, the Vanguard is where we start off from. It talks about 2027, and you see the defections, the big story on the front page. Citing crisis, 19 National Assembly members defect to NDC. ADC, NNPP lose 3 seats in Senate as Abaribe Ume Hanga defect. 18 reps defect from ADC, 17 to NDC, 1 joins the APC, right? Moving against traffic, you will see. It says Senate configuration now is APC 88, NDC 8, PDP 4.
That's ADC 8?
ADC 8, pardon me, you see? Fell into that trap. PDP 4, NDC 3, ABGA 1, Accord 1, and then we have 4 vacant seats. And I must say that the ruling party, the APC and the government, has pointed to this, saying, whatever happened to all of the talks about one-party states? So they're saying the fact that these people can move from one party to the other is an indication that there is no one-party state. While those defectors say the fact that they are moving from one party to the other is an indication that we're moving towards a one-party state. But whatever the case is, you know, politicians will always follow their interests.
More importantly, what's the strength of those institutions? That's the question we should be asking, especially with regards to how heavily monetized our elections are. And so, look at the party structure of those political parties. How many of them have strong board of trustees, you know, that can pilot the affairs of the party in the case of, you know, a major political crisis? How strong is the structure of those parties throughout the states of a federation? Remember that we have thousands of polling units to address when elections begin. Those are the big concerns. How do we, you know, redirect our electoral process away from money politics to, you know, politics of ideology and integrity, such that elections can be conducted without the deployment of sinful funds. Presidential and governorship forms alone are running into 50 million, 100 million. How much more, how the sums that are deployed, you know, to prosecute these elections, when you consider the number of agents, you know, that you deploy to those thousands of polling units. Those agents have to be paid, you know, and we shouldn't even talk about, you know, the other elements, you know, of the elections that also have to be prosecuted with money. And so those are the concerns. And so, and perhaps that's why civil society advocates are still, you know, drumming the beats for, you know, electronic voting, such that these huge funds can be redirected to other areas that are in dire need of, you know, those funds. You know, it reminds me of what one politician would say in Nigeria, that, you know, the politics of Nigeria is one of triumph of politics over purpose. So we have so many socioeconomic challenges on our hands, yet you see these funds moving around to areas that, you know, they do not necessarily need to go to. If we can spend these much on our elections, what about issues as important as security, as important as out of school children? You know, so those are the issues really. When we talk about a one-party state, it looks more like the move towards a one-party state means the move of resources, of people to, you know, manage that one-party state. And so when you look at the other political parties, what's the strength in terms of resources, in terms of numbers, and the people who drive them?
There you go. Lots to chew on, but let's find out how Mr. Ioakeria is internalizing all of these big stories. Good morning, Mr. Ioakeria, and welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning, Kayode, and Bukola, it's a pleasure to be here.
Mr. We are back again. It's almost like a moving train. Moved to the ADC, it didn't work out, and then moved to the NDC. What do you make of it? Particularly the back and forth debate about, oh, okay, it's a one-party state. Well, you see, it's not. You're moving. More importantly, how will the electorate view this? How will they take those who are moving serious? Or is this part of extra points for them to be taken serious?
Well, as I always say, these are interesting times. It is almost like a game of catch me if you can for the opposition political parties. The talk about a one-party state for Nigeria is really rife. It's on the lips of almost everyone. So, but for the leading opposition political parties, particularly the individuals driving those parties, it's a game of catch me if you can. Once there is allegation that certain individuals, particularly Peter Obi, now Kwankwaso have joined him. They formed an alliance to try and drive a direction for the opposition political parties. They'll be moving, and then their followers are also moving. But the rapidity, the pace, the speed of these movements is quite dizzying. As Akpabio said yesterday, the Senate President, that in 1 month, some of these political figures have defected from their political parties for about 2 or 3 times. That is the times that we have found ourselves. Again, as Bukola pointed out, and of course you also quite agreed, it is about the absence of a clear political ideology, a clear vision, objective for most of the politicians who are in these political parties. So what I see, the reading is that they simply join these political parties and then use them as special purpose vehicles, SPVs, that can move them from one destination to the other, all in a bid to try and realize their individual ambition. But with regards to the development and stability of the democratic process, Nigerians indeed need a very virile and strong opposition party. And the NDC is now the fourth force. We have the APC, you have the PDP and the Labour Party in that order. Then the NDC is there. But the way the rise with what happened at the National Assembly yesterday, 17 House of Reps members joining the ADC, and of course 2 moving over to the NDC, that is a big plus. It simply shows, it's a signal that the NDC is a serious force to be reckoned with by Nigerians ahead of the 2027 general elections. For me, it is a good development. Before May 10, that the names of registered members of political parties will be submitted to INEC. I see more defections, I see more realignment, I see more regrouping, particularly in the camp of the opposition political parties. This is a good development, as I said, and we wait to see. It's a developing story.
Well, I like your description, Mr. Akiria. You say it's a game of catch me if you can. Maybe some people from the ADA, what some Nigerians would like to call ADA party, well, they are still in the group of an association because they haven't been registered successfully by INEC yet. Are they trying to catch the NDC because they are now challenging one party member, the national secretary, is raising eyebrows over the registration of the NDC, but the party has officially come out to say that we're not identifying with Mr. Umar Ardo's position on the registration process of the NDC. He's speaking for himself, but we're looking to see in the coming days what this will develop to be. Will it constitute another court procedure from Mr. Ardo challenging the registration of the NDC, which according to him was done by court order because NDC, like the other parties that applied, did not scale through all of the registration processes, but was registered by INEC through a court order from a Kogi State High Court. But of course, ADA has clarified that it is not in support of Mr. Umar Ardo's position. So if that is trying to catch the NDC following the defection of Mr. Peter Obi and Mr. Kwankwaso, that's another kettle of fish entirely. If it develops beyond this point in the coming days, it will be another interesting conversation. But speaking of interesting conversations, this Nigeria this morning has a no-nonsense headline. Listen to this, Mr. Akiria. Xenophobia. Enough of the nonsense. Senators decry attack on Nigerians. Describe act as barbaric. Warn of sanctions. Set up joint committee to raise issue with South Africa. And there you have it, Mr. Akiria. We saw the senator from Edo State and former chairman of the APC yesterday, calling for stricter measures against South Africa through, a withdrawal of license of the company here in Nigeria. What are your thoughts on this? Which way to go in reining in on, the seasonal xenophobic attacks against Nigerians and other nationals in South Africa?
All right, I'll make a quick comment on Umar Ado's threat to go to court to challenge the registration of the NDC. He should not put himself forward as a fifth columnist. As one of his party members, one of these officials of the ADA also said that is not the position of the party. That is a personal opinion by Umar Ado. He should not position himself as a cannibal that will be used to consume other political parties. He should rather focus on how his party, the African Democratic Alliance, can be registered instead of looking the way and direction of the Nigerian Democratic Congress. It is already registered. The courts have given judgment to that effect. So he should, as a person, pursue the registration of his party instead of being, because people will think that it's being used, to try and pull down the NDC. But again, I think that will not even succeed. Nigerians are not interested in that at this moment. Now, back to this serious issue of xenophobic attack in South Africa. For more than 10 years, South African youths that between 18 and 30 years, those who were not born during the apartheid, those who do not understand the history of their country, have taken it upon themselves to turn their country into a killing field where they attack other African citizens who reside in South Africa. And strip them of their businesses, strip them of their resources, and in fact kill them on the streets. It's like imposing mob justice on people who legally are resident in South Africa. It is very painful, very, very painful. So as I said, for more than 10 years, this has been ongoing. The role Nigeria specifically played in 1994 to ensure that South apartheid crumbles and South Africa as a country becomes an independent state, devoid of the apartheid regime. It's not lost on anyone who witnessed those traumatic those era where you have many South Africans, young people like Thabo Mbeki coming to Nigeria, the activists in the African National Congress, who even secured scholarship. Many of them were in the University of Lagos, University of Ibadan, Bafemi Awolowo University, and Ahmadu Bello University. Nigeria welcomed leaders, the front runners, the activists in the African National Congress, who eventually metamorphosed to become the leaders of the modern South African states. So these attacks, the killings that are going on in South Africa, is regrettable, and I think the countries like Botswana, Tanzania, they have taken a very strong stance against South Africa. President Cyril Ramaphosa campaigned on taking back the jobs that are currently being done by foreigners in South Africa. It is on that basis that young South Africans actually supported Cyril Ramaphosa as president of South Africa, and that is why he appears, to be tongue-in-cheek in this very, very sad and unfortunate development that is happening in this country. The streets of South Africa are almost like a running battle. Nigerians are a major target. So for me this morning, I support the position of Senator Adams Oshomole, who came very hard yesterday on what Nigerians should do, to reciprocate the South African bad behavior. If countries do not appreciate, countries like Sierra Leone, Liberia, where many Nigerian soldiers also died, fighting rebels in those countries who came to destabilize their countries. It is akin to what has happened in South Africa. Nigeria spent billions of naira supporting the anti-apartheid movement and ensuring that Nelson Mandela was freed and eventually became the first democratically elected president of South Africa. Nigeria should really come hard. MTN is a South African company. DSTV is a South African-owned company. You also have ShopRite that was there. I understand that the franchise of ShopRite is already moved. South Africans are giving it away. But South Africa has so many businesses in this country. Without MTN and DSTV, I wonder where the South African economy will be today. South Africa is not in good diplomatic state with the United States. So if Nigeria, as the biggest black nation on earth, join the US in imposing sanctions on South Africa, I think that country will suffer. So this morning, I go with Adams Oshomole and other Nigerians who think that we've had enough of this South African belligerence and the transitions on Nigeria. You can't just be killing Nigerians as if Nigeria have no leadership. And for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is visiting Kenya and other countries, not even saying anything, for me, that to me is not the way to go. The president must lead the charge against what the South Africans are doing to Nigerians. Right. The time to do that is now, and I think that we must mobilize as a country, as Nigerians, to say enough is enough. We've had enough of this South African misbehavior.
Right, the Nigerian government has called for an investigation into the death of 2 Nigerians some weeks ago in very questionable circumstances. So hopefully we'll get something on that one. And as you said, there's a strong response from the Nigerian government, perhaps from this ad hoc committee, from the Senate that's going to be visiting, from the president. He's still in France right now, but he'll be in Kenya and Rwanda, which is in the neighborhood, at least in Africa. But Mr. Akeria, we have to thank you for your time on the program today. I'm sure it's not raining as much as it's raining. It's not raining in Abuja as much as it's raining here in Lagos. So I wish you the very best today, Mr. Akeria.
It rained yesterday.
Ah, I see. So you got it first. Then we're getting our own share. Mr. Akeria, member of Nigerian Guild.
Some are ascribing it to climate change. Yeah, thank you.
Well, yeah. So we have to keep close watch on that. Thank you very much once again, sir. Have a great day.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
A quick break now, and when we return, we have a big conversation. Stay with us.
Colleagues, one more announcement and we are done. Resignation from ADC and declaration for Labour Party. Maybe all those defecting from ADC should just compile everything in one paper and bring, so that we don't keep announcing. Because I think ADC is dead. The question is, how many times can you defect in a month? Once, but maybe some have done 3 times. So that's why I'm saying, as a spirit that's the voice of the gods. I'm ready to keep announcing, but let us compile all, so that it doesn't look like a daily ritual.
Welcome back. A bit of mockery there for the ADC coming from the president of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio. So when you thought that over the weekend the furore, arising from the defection of Mr. Peter Obi and Alhaji Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso to the NDC from the ADC was going to lift, it appears as if no, it's just gathering. And so is the ADC truly dead? Let's speak with an ADC chieftain now who joins us this morning on the program. Aredele Momodu is an ADC chieftain. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us on the morning brief.
Good morning, and how are you today?
Very well, thank you, sir, and we hope you're doing well as well.
Oh, yes, we thank God, always. The rain is falling heavily in Lagos, but the weather is also very cool, so maybe it will calm all the frayed nerves in Nigeria.
Indeed, and we wonder what the weather is like in the ADC camp. The president of the Senate says the ADC is dead. We've seen after the weekend mass defection in the House of Representatives from the ADC to the NDC, and so some would say this is a movement of the Kwankwasiya and the obedient loyalists to the NDC. So what is it for you? Is it a relief for the articulates in the ADC camp, or is it a huge loss of people and resources that should help in your election? So which one is it?
Well, let me start with the statements by the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, who I consider a friend and a brother. You know, he loves comedy a lot. And for him, sometimes he cracks expensive jokes. He will crack very expensive jokes. Anyone who knows the political configuration of Nigeria will know that ADC today, despite the movements out of it by the obedience and the Kwankwashias, remains the leading political party today. Don't forget that ADC was also largely an offshoot of PDP. And you can see the kind of realignment. You could see what happened in Ibadan just 2 weeks ago, that people saw the capacity of ADC when it was invited to Ibadan for a joint meeting with the PDP. So, I mean, if you look at it, the next election will be majorly decided by the APC and the ADC, God willing. Of course, others have a chance. In the last election, the Labour Party, where Peter Obi was at that time, came third, and then MPP, where Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso was, came fourth. So as of today, you still have a lot of the political juggernauts. I don't know what happened. Can you see me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. So a lot of the political juggernauts across Nigeria are still currently in the ADC. And also, I always like to mention this, that the largest political party in Nigeria is not APC, it's not ADC, it's not NDC, it's not NNPP, it is what I call the floaters party of Nigeria. The floaters are the ordinary people like you and I in Nigeria who are not interested in parties. So that is why the arrogance of APC say, oh, we are big, nobody can beat us. There is no way they can defeat the floaters party of Nigeria. So the floaters are there, waiting to inflict severe punishment on those who have made their lives worse in the last 3 years or thereabout. So when the Senate President said ADC is dead, with all due respect to him, he was just joking. He couldn't have meant it. And he knows they are jittery. He knows the truth. So let's leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, so you say they're jittery, but let's get right to those serious issues. Mr. Peter Obi, in his reflective statement put out over the weekend, citing reasons for his exit, absolved Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and the leader of the party, former Senate President David Mark, of blame of any form of maltreatment in his exit. But we also, read from that statement where he said those who would rather spend money on resources instead of politics are not appreciated. And so the conclusion many have reached about his defection from the ADC to the NDC is that he knew he was not going to get the ticket after all, with Alhaji Atiku Abubakar in the room and with a lot of spending to get the tickets. What are your thoughts on that?
Peter Obi did not leave ADC because some people were going to have spending. There is no politics and there is no election in the world where you don't spend money on logistics. People tend to think that money in politics means bribing people. How many people can you bribe?
Spending money on logistics.
Logistics, yes, everywhere in the world, in America.
Inducing delegates to secure their vote for you, do you describe that as logistics?
It's not about delegates. Even now, it's a lot easier for Obi to test his popularity, but he ran away from testing that popularity because all it takes now is either consensus, so there are no delegates, or you go and do open direct primary. When you go to that primary, it is everybody registered party members that will vote. So if you are popular, you will get the vote. But he knows that there is no way, whether direct, indirect, consensus, it will be difficult for him to beat a man who brought him to national prominence in 2019, to beat a man who has meticulously and diligently pursued his dream since around 1992, 1993, and has not given up. That is the hallmark of a serious politician. He builds every electoral cycle, brings him closer to his destination. So I would have wished that Obi would wait and test his popularity in ADC. That's number one. Number two is that Obi is afraid of his supporters. They already told him in advance that if he agrees to be vice president to anyone, they are going to disown him. They said it. Aisha Yesufu said it. Patutomi said it. They all said it publicly. So let's stop hiding behind one finger. Obi did not leave because of Atiku. Obi left because he knew he lacked the capacity to take on an Atiku. And possibly even Amechi. People tend to underrate Amechi. Amechi is not a small fry in politics today. He's been Speaker in Rivers State House of Assembly for 8 years. He's been governor for 8 years. He's been minister for about 8 years. He is not a small boy. As a matter of fact, amongst all of them, the only person who has only been a governor is Peter Obi. But he has, this fanatical support base that you cannot disregard. So, and they drive him, and for me, that's a turn off. I told him in this house in Lagos and in Ghana that look, you will need to find a way to speak to your supporters. Your supporters cannot go into a coalition and insist that it must be you or nobody else. That is a major turn-on for a lot of people. That in democracy, the foundation of what we are doing here is democracy. So if you are afraid of testing your popularity in a small party, and you think you can take on the entire nation, where you have Tinubu, who has acquired the majority of our governors, senators, House of Reps, and so on and so forth. So how will you do it? They say, oh, we don't need structures. We are the structure. No problem. We shall see it again when that day comes. That you need to join hands and forces with other opposition leaders for you to be able to achieve. You were the last to join them with Kwankwaso, and you were the first to jump ship, claiming that it's not because of money. Please don't let anybody deceive you with sophistry.
So what does this say then? Does it say more about the people now left in the ADC, Atiku Abubakar and the rest, or does this say more of Mr. Peter Obi's person?
Yeah, it's more about Mr. Peter Obi's the person, he's not able to rein in his supporters. He has a mortal fear. I told him one-on-one, I said, you are a leader, lead your followers. You cannot be praising Atiku. He's a good man, he's a good man. And yet, your people every day, it's as if Atiku is the one they are meeting next year and not Tinubu. I've never seen such in my life, where people attack members of the same party when you are not going to be competing against them at the general elections. So why don't you face your own candidate, praise your own candidates to heavens, do your geography, if you like, your apotheosis. Nations are not led by saints. Nations are led by performance. Not even the Vatican is managed by a saint. So the apotheosis comes after you are long gone, and then they will determine if you merit the sainthood. The mistake in Nigeria is always that we're looking for saints to manage us instead of looking for performance. I've studied Alhaji Atiku Abubakar since 1993 in Jos when he stepped down for Chief Moshood Abiola. I've read his books. Interestingly, I just stumbled on it again this morning. That is his life. I've read so much about the man. I've worked directly with him. The only man who has the temper, the temperature, the temperament for democracy in Nigeria today is Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Right. I refuse to support Tinubu, who are no longer than anyone else, because of this propensity for tyranny. And I warned on your channel in 2022, I spoke to Shehu Okibakoli. I said, if Tinubu becomes president of Nigeria, you will see what is called dictatorship. And today, I am very right. So, people are a bit careless. All we are looking for is somebody is a saint, and that's all. But Tinubu today has shown the lack of national experience. The reason he is embroiled in a lot of the difficulties today is because he was only that local champion in Lagos State where he could do and undo. But when he came to national Israel, he couldn't manage some of the people who brought him into power. Nothing else right today is languishing in detention. Partly because they were afraid of him, his rising profile and all that. So look, what we need is a true Democrat. Right. We have a way of wasting them. I pray that we will not waste Atiku Abubakar.
Well, so for a lot of people who are watching, they're still trying to understand. You called them, I think the term used was drifters or floaters. That was the term used. The biggest political party in Nigeria, floaters. So for these floaters, the average Nigerian, they're wondering, okay, if you say that this is about democracy is about give and take, why would an Atiku Abubakar want to run for president at this time when there is that understanding that, oh, wait, we have two major regions, so let's do give and take. 8 years north, 8 years south. South has just done 4 years this time round, so why would a northerner want to be the front liner? So for people who don't understand that, they see him as someone who is hell-bent on leading the country in spite of what they think is common sense, right? What do you say to those floaters who make up majority, and they're the ones that will vote and decide who the next president will be?
I am surprised because I respect you a lot. You walked into your own trap, and I will ask you a simple question. Tell me when ever in Nigeria you had 8 years of North, 8 years of South. Tell me one example.
Well, this is not my question. It is your question to answer.
No. It is you are asking questions. You are supposed to inform those who watch you regularly.
Well, so recent history, and I'm going to humor you. I'm going to humor you, Chief Momodu. Yes. Recent history. Muhammadu Buhari did 8 years. Simple as that.
Yes.
And by the way, yes. I don't have any horse in this race. This is really not my business. I'm going to get to vote eventually. I'm not running away from it. I'm just positing my point. Yes, I'm positing my point. So please allow me. So Buhari did 8 years. Tinubu has done 4 years. So naturally, common sense says if the North has done 8 years, allow the South to do 8 years. Simple, recent
Okay,
history.
when Yaradua did 3 years, so who did the rest of the time? Yaradua came after Obasanjo, he died in power, Jonathan took over, completed their first tenure, completed his own tenure, and was allowed to run again. If he had won at that time, he would have done a total of 9 years. So I am asking you, tell me where this relay race started and where it ended. Where you had a southerner, a northerner, a southerner for 8 years. Just give one example.
Well, you have over 200 million people to convince. Well, at least 90 million people to convince. So this is, you're not convincing me. Believe me, Chief Momodu, I'm a lost cause. You cannot convince me. This is not for me to be convinced. This is you answering the questions that have been raised by Nigerians. It is not me you're trying to convince. It is the Nigerians who say, allow the South do their 8 years, then the North can come to do their 8 years and ensure that we have some sort of balance. This is a democracy. It's a country that has those regions. So if that is your answer to them, I hope they're listening and I hope they're taking it. But here's...
You brought me here to ask me questions. And I am answering you to
No, you are asking me questions.
Knowledge.
No, you are asking me questions. You're not answering. That's what you're doing.
No,
so please answer.
I said it has never happened.
No, you asked
me. If you can contradict it, it has never happened. So if you can contradict me, please go ahead and contradict me. I have no problem. I will apologize to you. It has never happened. And it is not in the constitution of Nigeria. You want to practice democracy without a constitution? Everybody, including Buhari, they were contesting every electoral cycle. Even when Yaradua, who comes from the same Katsina state, was in power, Buhari was still aspiring to be president of Nigeria. So why is Atiku so different? Everybody is speaking. And so once the constitution allows him to do it, whether it is commonsensical to you or not, let him exercise his constitutional right. Don't bully him away from his constitutional right. That's all I'm saying to you. And if you have any way to contradict me to say that has been the pattern, I will apologize to you.
You know, Chief, you're doing what you say the supporters of Mr. Peter Obi are doing. I'm not the enemy here. I'm asking their questions. You're fighting me.
I asked you a simple question.
I know. So here's the thing.
By now we abuse you. I don't abuse people.
I know. So the point I'm trying to make is you are targeting me. This is not me here. You are convincing Nigerians. So the response.
You with such lies.
No, the response should be to Nigerians, not to me, Chief Dele Momodu. I'm not a politician. I am none of the supporters.
I am targeting those who tell you those lies.
Okay, so speak to them, not me.
Nobody will debunk those lies.
All right. So here's the next point. So from what you say now, it seems that this was doomed to fail from the scratch. I wonder just how much of a risk assessment you did, or the ADC did, that Mr. Atiku Abubakar did ahead of the coalition. Did you ever say, okay, these are the risks. This is how we will mitigate it, and ultimately, how much of a loss is this to you, or do you think this is good riddance to bad rubbish in that sense?
No, I am not an arrogant person who will dismiss anybody. Everyone is important in politics. Talk less of a man who had about maybe 6.1 million voters supporting him in the last election. I think Atiku would have had 6.7 or 6.9 or thereabout, and Rabiu Kwankwaso had 1 point something million. So I would have expected them to stick together. At least test your popularity. If you say only one man can be presidential candidate in a party or co-joiners, that is our geography. It means that we're not serious about democracy in Nigeria, and we should be serious about testing. It's a game of number. It's not a game of emotion. It's not a game of where you come from. Where you come from cannot be the automatic qualification. Otherwise, then why can't Tinubu continue? If you say it's about 8 years, then why are we going to waste trillions on an election? if we do not need to scrutinize, what I expect you and I to be debating now is that what does Obi offer? What does Amici offer? What does Atiku offer? What does Kwankwaso offer? What does Tambua offer? We have a robust lineup of experienced Nigerian politicians that can be the president of Nigeria. That is what we should be, not where you come from, not you do. So automatically, whether the South or the Southern aspirants cannot prove that they are better than their Northern counterparts, we must pick them because of the emotion that it is. So I mean, for me, I'm a part-time politician, I say it all the time. So I live on my modest income, I do my job modestly, but if I'm going to leave Tinubu because of what I call dictatorship, I cannot fall into another dictatorship. That is my own personal opinion, and I'm comfortable with it.
So if this risk assessment was done, perhaps the decision would have been different, or maybe closer home to what the numbers that the opposition is gearing up to, scoop in the 2027 election will be decent for a victory. Because with Mr. Peter Obi and Mr. Kwankwaso's defection to the ADC, some would say that's about 7 million plus votes that have already gone to the NDC if there's going to be a repeat of the 2023 feat in the NDC, and what you're now left with is about 6 million votes, and that doesn't go anywhere. So some would say that the opposition is already split. And what was the Ibadan summit all about anyway, when the opposition said we are going to present only one candidate? So was it just a political distraction?
My dear sister, you don't calculate politics like peanuts. Are you saying that Tinubu will retain all the 8-point-something million people that voted for him last time? How are you sure the Atiku will retain all those who voted for him last time? What is the guarantee that Obi and Kwankwaso are the only people who will retain all those who voted for them last time? The situation has changed. Tinubu today, if he allows a free and fair election, might not even get 3 million votes. Despite all the governors, we saw how 3 out of 5 G5 governors in their states, in Enugu, in Abia, in Benue State, how they lost just senatorial seats. They couldn't even guarantee senatorial seats for themselves. So for us at ADC, we are focused, we are steadfast. Those who want to join should join. Those who don't want to join, you cannot succumb to blackmail that only one man can make us win. In 2019, Atiku and Obi joined. They did not win. In 2023, they went their separate ways. They did not win. So why would you panic? My old mom was an unlettered woman. She taught me something. Stop running from whatever is chasing you, because you might run into what is chasing you. So just stay. Now they all agreed because government chased them. Not that they all wanted to work together from the beginning. You should remember that it was Tinubu who forced all of them together. And that is why they all moved in one direction. Which would have been beautiful, because it would have been like a two-party race, like it happened during Abiola and Bashir Tofa. So, but in this case, let everybody go and test. If somebody says, I don't want to be your wife, why would you force yourself on that person? And there's no guarantee that Atiku would even defeat Obi at the primary, because they are going to throw it open. But he chose to go. A part of the reasons it gave was that there are too many litigations there and there. We don't know where he has gone to now. If there are litigations or not, it doesn't matter to me. I wish him the best. He's not my enemy. Okay, so it's good that you go and test his popularity elsewhere. So let others also, but you cannot force Atiku out for a man because the man said, if me and Kwankwaso come together by 12 o'clock, elections will be over. I'm not that puerile. Okay?
So what
I've been. Yes, go on, please.
So what numbers, if the odds have changed ahead of 2027, what numbers can Atiku pull off?
I won't talk about numbers because I am not clairvoyant. But I will talk about the things that have changed in Nigeria that will give him an opportunity. Majority of the votes, go and check. And I'm sure a lot of journalists don't even check the electoral figures. Go and check the figures from 2023 and see how Atiku did. Go and check from 2019 and see how he did. In 2023, majority of the votes came from Northeast and Northwest, Southwest. Okay? So go and check the numbers. Elections in Nigeria are decided on three things. Number one is ethnicity. Number two is religion. Number three, which runs parallel, is a lot of cash. So I know what I'm talking about. Go and check my article, Google it, in search of mathematicians, Buhari versus Jonathan in 2014. I wrote the article. Check it on Google. You will see how I predicted the figures. Those figures don't change. Last time, Tinubu was helped by the presence of General Momodu Buhari of blessed memory. That's what helped them in APC because they had an incumbent president.
Right.
So now General Buhari is out of the equation. So the next in line now is Atiku Abubakar. Then you have the others like El-Rufai, like Tambua, and all of them. This is what will decide the numbers in the next election. You can disregard it and say we are very popular, we are very popular. I am telling you, there are people in Nigeria. There are people in Nigeria who know these things I'm telling you about. That it's not just about I am popular. It is more than that. You need structures. You need to protect your votes. You need to do so many things. You need to pay your agents nationwide. Go and check how many places the other opposition parties were able to police last time. We have all these things. We work with statistics, not with emotion.
Right.
Popularity alone cannot make you a president. Alone cannot make you a president.
So on a final note, for those who say that you have just succeeded, and I'm talking about the coalition that has now been split into the NDC and ADC, has succeeded in handing over 2027 election to President Bola Tinubu yet again. We're going to have a repeat of what happened in 2023, where the votes were split. You say that you think the president might not get as much as 3 million, but you don't want to say what you think that Mr. Atiku Abubakar would get, and that's okay. So this is my final question to you. In terms of what each of the candidates have to offer, right? Mr. Atiku Abubakar, you've been supporting him and you've been unapologetic about it. For the floaters as well, 6 million plus. A lot of them support at Peter Obi. A lot of young people, people in the diaspora, people who think that he's not a part of the structure of criminality, as has been said. So you have met Mr. Peter Obi. I think you visited him in London some time ago. You've worked closely with Mr. Atiku Abubakar, Rotimi Amechi as well, even the president. I'm sure you've had close interactions with him at some point. What will make you choose an Atiku Abubakar over a Peter Obi? And again, this is not for me. This is for people who are trying to understand your rationale. Because they see Peter Obi as someone who's simple. They see him as someone who represents that humility that they want to see in their leader.
I don't see anybody more humane, more humble than Atiku Abubakar. And I don't know how someone who has never been prosecuted and convicted, you call him a criminal. Whoever they refer to as the criminal among them. And I don't know any saint among them. I don't know any. But we all choose, just like we have Muslims, we have Christians, you choose who to follow without disparaging the other unnecessarily. So what makes me choose Atiku, number one, is that he's a consummate Democrat. I am a Democrat. I believe the foundation of every government should be democracy. And Atiku has proven many times without number that he is a true Democrat. He loses election, he goes home. He will go to court, and thereafter, once he gets the verdict, he goes home. He has never been violent since 1993 that I've known him when he stepped down for Abiola. He was supposed to be VP, he didn't get it, he did not throw tantrums like the wickets and all that. He went home. And then later, God still made it possible for him to be vice president. So for me, it is temperament. There are people, if they take power today, they will summarily deal with their enemies in the name of fighting corruption. That is not my kind of leadership. I want a leader who is clear-eyed, a leader who has managed people and resources, his own personal business in 2007, without any government support, because he does not even control his state. He's there in his house. You will not find thugs around him. You will not find him discussing how to go and rig in INEC. That to me is a good leader, regardless of misgivings or the disparaging comments of people they have disagreed at one point or the other. Atiku is a good man. I will say it with my full chest. He is a very good man. People say it's about money. Money, he does not have 1% of Tinubu's money. I am not 1% as close to him as I am close to Tinubu, but I chose principle. I chose democracy. I chose comportment. I chose godliness of friendship.
All right.
My country is more important than friendship.
Indeed, and you have the right, to choose based on your personal reasons. So it's not left to Nigerians to decide, how much of a Democrat the other aspirants are at this rate. And speaking of Nigerians, they're responding to you on the matter of power sharing for, the zones, and citing the time spent by the North during the military era, in power as well. So they're saying that what's the point anyway? But that will be another conversation for another day. I see you're smiling already. Mr. Dele Momodu is a journalist, publisher, and ADC chieftain. Thank you for coming through on this conversation. And might I add also an articulate, an unrepentant articulate.
Fully articulated, fully. How can you add military? Do military people do?
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, so we're going right straight to the next conversation, and Kadi has got this one.
Oh yes, we're joined now by a member of the House of Representatives, one of those people who moved from the ADC to the NDC. Honorable Afam Ogene is our guest, a member representing Ogbara Federal Constituency, Anambra State. He joins us live from our Abuja studio. Good morning, Honorable. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Kayode, and good morning, Nigerians.
I'll just get right into it. We just had this conversation with Chief Dele Momodu where he spoke about why he thinks Mr. Peter Obi left to the NDC. And a lot of people say, why did he take the easy way out, it would seem? Because he could have tested his popularity in the ADC, which would be a precursor to him testing his popularity before Nigerians. But you followed him to the NDC. So why? Why did you seem to take the easy way out?
I don't understand by what you mean the easy way out. If anything, I don't think that Mr. Peter Obi is a training material. In his first run as presidential candidate, he has proven that he should be playing in the Champions League. But besides that, for every political association, there are certain irreducible minimums. You cannot repeat the same thing all over and expect a different result. Just 4 years back, the issue in the PDP, from where Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is coming from, was the issue of the North holding the position of national chairman as well as holding the position of presidential candidate. And we all know, in spite of how Mr. Dele Momodu tries to twist facts when he says that zoning is not into the constitution, he should also know that politics is also made up of conventions and norms. And the convention in Nigeria is a zoning pattern between the north and the south, which was why people like former Governor Nasiru El-Rufai galvanized some northern governors to insist that power must shift to the south in 2023. I don't know where that was written in the constitution, but that move ensured that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is president today. So for us, it is the turn of the south. The former president Muhammadu Buhari having stayed in office for 8 years, and now that the south has the turn, Mr. Peter Obi even offered to do one tenure in respect of that zoning formula or that convention that power should rotate between the two zones. And if anybody is going against that, I don't know, I thought that they should be having a Thanksgiving that Mr. P2B left to their fold, because we know that Mr. P2B has been the subject of attack. Nobody, especially from the government, wants him on the ballot. And so all these court cases that have been pushed here and there is because of him. So if he leaves to give them the field to run unfettered, I thought that they should have a Thanksgiving. They should be thanking him instead of running around the social media and the major television networks lamenting the exit of Mr. P2B.
So this looked like a match that was not made in heaven from the scratch, the coalition. And I wonder, what was the plan all along? Because a lot of people had seen this coming already. So were you hoping against hope that things will not turn out this way? We know that Mr. Atiku Abubakar is the most powerful, prominent, influential in the ADC, and most likely the primary was going to go his way. So why did you agree to even join the coalition in the first place? What was promised? What conversations were had to convince you against what was the obvious fact?
No, it was not as if anybody was afraid of a primaries. But like I said, there are certain irreducible minimums in every association. First, the leadership of the ADC had emerged with former Senate President David Mark from the northern region as chairman. And when you go into an association, it's like courtship in marriage. You will not, because some things are said about a particular partner and you run away, you can give it a try. That's the whole essence of courtship. And remember, both men, Mr. P2B and Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, are close, having run on the same platform in 2019. And for some of us, we thought that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar will play the role of statesman and know that what is needed urgently in the country is the stabilizing factor of unity. And having especially gone through the process in 2023 that led the PDP to where it is today. So in the course of that courtship, if you are trying to save your mother, we also dictates that you should not push your father down. And when we saw that he wasn't going to let go, and especially as the government of the day was not comfortable with Mr. P2B and the other major opposition figures binding together, we thought that we should look for a platform that is a little less encumbered, unlike what the situation is in the APC. So it's not as if we didn't think about it. We thought about it and went into it. But when we saw that Tigers would hardly change their spots. We had to move on.
So, in moving on now, what appears to be playing out, especially with, a study of the reactions to this latest round of defection, is the intense scrutiny on the management capabilities of Mr. Peter Obi as a leader himself. And some of the reactions, the criticisms coming through is his seeming inability, to manage crisis and, people, and his tendency to take flight at a slightest challenge to his aspiration. They cited the leadership crisis within the Labour Party, the leadership crisis within the ADC, and as a result, can we trust him, to manage a more complex challenge as Nigeria? As one who is a staunch and astute supporter of Mr. Peter Obi, how do you defend him against this criticism?
Well, I don't want this to be a we versus them scenario. Else I would have simply asked you, why didn't Atiku Abubakar stay back in the PDP and manage the crisis that erupted as a result of his candidacy only 4 years ago? Why didn't he stay back in the several political parties that he came out to run on as their presidential candidate and thereafter left? I thought that people should be applauding Mr. Peter Obi. Would you rather stew in crisis or rather desire a conducive atmosphere? What Mr. Peter Obi seeks is a country that works for everybody. It's not a political party that is bogged down by several shenanigans, by competing interests in-house, and by government seeking to make sure that he doesn't even appear on the ballot. And short of going to the streets to demonstrate, he decided to avail himself of democratic options available by seeking other platforms. If you talk about Labour Party, who is talking about Barrister Julius Abure today? Mr. Peter Obi, went through the judicial process, and the Supreme Court on April 4th, 2025, did make a landmark pronouncement that the tenure of Julius Abure, which is at the center of the crisis in the Labour Party, was over. And I was part of the team, along with Mr. Peter Obi, Governor Alex Oti, senators and House members, that went to INEC with the certified true copy of this judgment. And INEC said they were going to study it. But they kept studying the same judgment until Mr. Peter Obi left Labour Party on the 30th of December 2025 and declared interest for ADC. 4 days later, the Independent National Electoral Commission, if they are indeed independent, now issued a statement saying that without any compulsion, the Abure's tenure was over. So what would you have wanted Mr. Peter Obi to do? I think that is a vindication of Mr. Peter Obi's stance in the Labour Party. If the highest court in the land had made a pronouncement, instead of trolling state agencies like INEC that ought to give vent to that judgment, and they refused to, why would they turn around to accuse the person that they are all trying to push out of that same platform? If you talk about the current one, the ADC, Atiku Abubakar registered for ADC sometime last year. Mr. Peter Obi only gave an indication that he was moving there on the 30th of December. All of January, nothing happened. All of February, nothing happened. On March 7, 2026, he went to his village, I was there, to register as a member of the party. Remember, I said Atiku Abubakar had long registered. As soon as Mr. Peter Obi registered, less than 1 week after, the case filed by Nafi Ubala since September 2025 was suddenly given accelerated hearing, such that we have a situation where we came to status quo ante bellum.
Right.
So you should know that this whole shenanigans is about Mr. P2B and nobody else.
Well, all right, if you say so, but Nigerians will have to decide on that. One more from me, and I wonder if you were at the All Opposition Parties Summit in Ibadan. One of the resolutions from that summit was that the opposition agreed to present one candidate. And right after that, we've seen a very big defection of Mr. P2B and Alhaji Kwankwaso to the NDC. And so that leaves us with great expectations from what will come from the ADC as well, because of Mr. Alhaji Atiku resolve to also be on the ballot. So why should we take the opposition seriously if it looks as if it cannot stand by his word?
Yeah, I will answer your question, but when you say Nigerians will decide that, I want to say that Nigerians are already deciding. From the House of Representatives and the Senate, the number of members that have moved has shown that the swing, which opposition political party or figure is able to pull that number to his side, that is one. On the outside, millions of Nigerians are now making a switch to the platform of NDC that Mr. Peter Obi is on. So Nigerians are already deciding. Then coming to the Ibadan summit, yes, I was there in Ibadan. We all went to Ibadan with the sole aim of having the coalition support one presidential candidate. And it's still on the cards. The people who came to Ibadan, the PDP was there, ADC was there, some other smaller political platforms were all there. Yet they were talking about having one president. It doesn't mean that these other parties will not field candidates. When they field candidates, at the opportune and right time, the leaders of these various parties would come together to look at the candidates that has the most chance of making it, and then can simply ask their followers and supporters to go that way. And secondly, it might dovetail into a second round of voting. And when it comes to that, that's the whole essence of coalition politics.
Right.
We will all sit down and look at the candidates and know who has the better chance and go for that individual. But already you know where this thing is swinging opposition-wise.
All right. On a final note, Honorable, it's been said that yet again the coalition has succeeded in handing over the election to President Bola Tinubu, because we may have a repeat of what played out in 2023. But again, you can never tell because people are fluid in the way they vote. But Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo, who I imagine is your friend, still your friend, even though you're not in the ADC together anymore, had said that if Mr. Peter Obi leaves the ADC, then that means maybe he's working for President Tinubu. What do you say to those who see things moving and they wonder, what if? Because it doesn't make political sense. You're making the same mistake and expecting a different result.
Well, if you're talking about working for President Tinubu, between Mr. P2B and Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, we all know who is Bola Ahmed Tinubu's friend.
Well,
he goes back a long way.
So which of them is?
You don't? In fact, once he ran on President Bola Tinubu's platform. He offered him a platform to run for president in
also,
the past.
You think Mr. Atiku Abubakar is working for the president?
If you say so, I would not have any reason to doubt you.
No, I'm asking you.
Because a lot of his businesses are government related, and so his insistence to run has been interpreted by several people to mean that he doesn't want the opposition to put his best foot forward. But besides all of that, the issue of 2027 is not about Alhaji Atiku Abubakar or Mr. P2B. It is an election between the Nigerian people and the poor-performing All Progressives Congress political party. Right. It's an election between inflation, between insecurity, between high petrol prices, between high cost of living, and the current administration. And it's there for Nigerians to choose. If they want 4 more years of the current state of things in Nigeria, where the average family does not know where the next meal will come from, then it's up to them. But if they want 4 years where the country can be reset for progress, as Mr. Peter would say, from the consumption that we are currently still engaged in to production, then it's an open choice for the Nigerian people to make. And I am sure that they will make the right call.
Well, Honorable,
speaking with Mr. Peter B.
Right, you and 16 other colleagues moved to the NDC now. So we wish you the very best, and for Nigeria, may the most appropriate, may the best win for the good of our nation. We've been speaking with Honorable Alpha Morgan, a member representing Obaru Federal Constituency, Anambra State. He just moved from the ADC to the NDC. So talk about fresh tiaroba in that sense. Honorable, thank you for your time. Once again, wish you the best.
Thank you, thank you. More members are coming.
Okay. We'll take a quick break now, and when we return, we come to Lagos with the concerns around dredging. What exactly is going on? Stay with us.
Welcome back. And so we move from politics at the national level to Lagos State, where there are concerns around dredging. Of course, the Lagos State government has always, stood firmly in its war against illegal dredging, with the Ministry of Waterfront, championing that cause. But there now seems to be a contention, between the ministry and other actors in that space. Let's have clarity on what exactly is playing out. And the Commissioner for Waterfront in Lagos, Mr. Dayo Bush Alebioshu, joins us live here in our Lagos studio on the Morning Brief. Good morning, sir. It's good to have you again.
Good morning.
On the
Thank
show.
you for having me.
So what exactly is happening as far as dredging is concerned, and what's the contention in the dredging space?
Well, we've always had our concerns. The administration has had great concerns, particularly in the area of indiscriminate dredging, in the area of illegal dredging. There's nothing, I've always said it over and over again, I've said it over and over again, that when it comes to dredging, it's a necessity of life. Our underwears, our homes, we can't be in this studio without dredging, because sand is a requirement. However, when you look at what's going on right now, you'd see that dredging is for two major reasons: for stockpiling or reclamation works. And when it comes to reclamation works, you will discover that with reclamation, they're now pumping sand from as far as 10, 11, 12 kilometers away. For those involved in the business, what does that mean? It means they're spending more money, they're using more boosters, they're burning more diesel. But from my point of view, it actually confirms what my worries have been. Because if you're reclaiming at Lekki and you have to pump sand from Ikorodu, the question is, why is that happening? It means that there's a lot of pressure on the sand being dredged. Now, it's important to have data, to have adequate data of those who are involved in dredging, where they're dredging, how much is being dredged. We must have an idea of the amount of sand available there. And that's one of the reasons why we have not been too eager to issuing, for reasons of semantics and legality. I don't want to use certain words such as permits and things like that. but you have what you call remediation fees. When you look at even the communities in which dredging is being done, the infrastructure there is constantly being hammered. What are we doing about this? How do we reduce this? I've always raised concerns about not falling into the same issues, or not having the same issues the UAE had when Dubai had to import sand. When you look at what's going on, it means we really have to get a very strong hold of it. That's basically where we are right now, and that's why it seems like there's some kind of a battle going on out there. The most important thing is how does it affect the environment? How does it affect the people? And obviously, when it's being bombarded like that, it means there would be some implication on even cost of sand. When there's implications or complications or whatever we want to call it in that area, it means it would tell on the cost of construction itself. So we have to go back to the basics and make sure that we have a good grasp of things for that to move on.
And I like the point you make about the costs, which is where I'm going to. And our cost is financial, but the bigger one, which we're not able to quantify, is the environmental cost.
Correct.
And there may be benefits here and there, construction, manufacturing. I mean, we need sand, whether you like it or not, even for our children to play right. But in terms of a cost, and I'm looking at a report here, says that sand mining driven by rapid construction in Lagos is eroding the seabed by up to 6 meters, harming marine life and putting food security at risk. So I want to know the costs, because we have a sense of the benefits, we can talk about it, but just how big a cost or how big a cost is this to us as people in Lagos, to the environment, right? And who is giving these approvals? Who is in charge of ensuring that, oh, you can't mine anymore, okay, it's enough? Because I understand that sand is the most mined after water, like globally, right? So who's in charge of that? But first, let's talk about the cost, and then we can talk about the approvals and the rest.
Well, you've mentioned it already. When you talk about cost, in this same studio, I'd spoken up severally on what are the basic necessities of life. First of all, food, clothing, shelter. Let's take 2 out of those 3. In the health sector, they keep encouraging you to go move away from red meat and go into aquatic
or white meat
and things like that. Now, how much did fish used to cost? And for every time you dredge, you disturb the waterbed. The microorganisms that God placed there for fish to feed off of, or marine life to feed off of, is constantly being disturbed. You continue to get the fish moving further and further away. Now, who goes after them? The fishermen. The harder they have to work, the more they place on the value of food. Ordinarily, we should have been able to dip our hands in water and bring out fish ordinarily. But is that the case? The answer is no. Fish continues. I mean, how does it make sense to sell a piece of fish found in water in Nigeria, in Lagos State, for ₦1 million? How come? It's different from herding, where a lot is required. You have to transport the food to the farm and all of that. This is different. You go on the waters, you cast your nets or whatever you need to fish with, and you discover that you have to continue to go further in there. Go to the fish markets, and that's one of the major reasons why we're trying to convert one of the jetty at Bariga into a fish market, so that it helps to reduce the cost of fish. We have to put all of these things in place, because it's like a war out there. You're chasing this everywhere you turn. Is you have either illegal or illegal dredging going on. You have, we're just saying illegal dredging. Let's put it all under sand dealing. Now, when it comes to what we have just said now, if you're building in Ikorodu and they're pumping sand from Ikorodu to Victoria Island, what do you think happens to the volume of sand there? What happens when you want to build in Ikorodu? There's serious competition for sand that's available there.
Right, pardon me. So here's the point now, the second part of my question. So who's regulating, who's given approval? Yes, you may call it illegal sand dealing, but I mean, to dredge sand, it's a major operation. It's not like something you go in the dead of the night, get a polythene bag and pack sand. No, you need machines, huge machines. Once you sight those machines, you know that something is about to happen.
Correct.
So I'm not sure if illegal works because it's in the open in that sense and you can see the machines. So who is in charge of regulating this space? And who, because we've heard Chinese companies being involved and all of that. So who is in charge of regulating and who are the culprits here? In a manner of speaking?
The first thing is to identify as regards regulation of sand dealing is strictly a function of waterfront infrastructure development.
So that's you?
Correct, that's me. How the State Assembly came up with its laws based on the powers that the Constitution granted. It used to be with, before the creation of waterfront infrastructure development, it used to be with the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources. But then the law was repealed and reenacted in waterfront infrastructure development.
In Lagos State?
In Lagos.
By the Lagos State Assembly?
By the Lagos State Assembly. So when it comes to those issues, questions are directed to the Ministry of Waterfront Infrastructure, or accountability is directed to Ministry of Waterfront Infrastructure Development. For the second question, as regards who the culprits are, that's why it's illegal. It's like bunkering. You would see heavy machines, and that's why we continue to stay in touch with those communities, because there's no way on earth that those machines would go into those communities without then knowing what they're after. We've gotten, and we're very grateful to quite a number of communities who continue to call us, who continue to tell us, alert us of the presence of those activities in the areas, and instantly we deploy our monitoring and enforcement team to go out there after them. But it's something that's continuous. You know, one of the hardest things to do is getting somebody to do otherwise in a situation where they benefit from it. So it's a continuous war. We go on waters, we see them. They're usually, a lot of times they're hidden. Now, where you see them in the open is because some of those things you see are boosters. It's because they have to be placed there, and that's when people alert us, or we continue to send our teams. It's very expensive to do that, but what can we do? It's something we have to continue to do when you look at what the eventual implications would be. But they don't see it from that point of view, those involved in this. They only see the economic value to them and not to the people at large. I mean, having a coastline of 180 something kilometers isn't something you joke with. Infrastructure development is something that's extremely, extremely expensive. Where does the funding come from? And that's why we're placing what you call the remediation fees. Go look at the amount. If you go back in time, I think it was when Governor Fashola was governor of Lagos State, and he went to commission a road in Ikorodu, a stretch of road. I mean, everybody knew that what was putting pressure on that infrastructure was as a result of the dredging activities going on in that particular area. So what do you do where the waterfront is being damaged, and even the infrastructure supplying the road infrastructure supplying that community is also being affected?
So we should talk about data and your capacity for monitoring. Maybe that will come subsequently. But let's look at jurisdiction now. Is there a challenge to your jurisdiction as the constitutionally mandated ministry to oversee dredging activities in Lagos? And there's a backstory to that. Sometime in 2025 or 2017, there was a contention between federal workers and Lagos when Lagos issued a stop work order for federal workers to do dredging activities in Lagos. So is there anything like that in recent times, and has that been addressed?
Oh yes, it has been addressed, because when you look at the law that establishes mineral resources at the federal level. It's clearly stated that ordinarily sand would have been thought to be a mineral, but in a case where sand is used for the basic necessity of life, which is in the area of construction, road construction, infrastructural development, and things like that, it's no longer considered a mineral. And that's why there's a requirement of paying to the federal government what you call royalties. Not too heavy and all that. But what Ministry of Waterfront Infrastructure Development looks into is to make sure that it really doesn't get out of hand. In the past, there were a couple of crossroads. There were a couple of issues, but they have been sorted where even there's what you call the OTCI, Office of Innovation and Transformation, recently came up with, under the instructions of the EXCO, to properly streamline things, and the entire, not just dredging, the entire sand dealing activities was placed with the Ministry of Waterfront, as done by the State Assembly in itself as well. So there's no crossroad, there are no issues of contention to be looked at. However, of course, you would always see some, in politics, in governance, in the family, in business, you would always see some rascally people. Like the saying goes, there are people who wish that wouldn't happen. There's a saying that out of hatred for the cockroach, the ant voted for insecticide and they all died. The question here is, what's most important here? What do we have to achieve? How do we keep everything safe? Because every time you dredge, it's expected that there's some level of implication further east of that area, and those are the things that mostly concerns us. How does it? There's serious erosion going on. What's causing it? There are natural issues, and there's also man-made issue. What's the man-made issue? Purely illegal dredging, illegal sand dealing activities.
So there's no current contention to your jurisdiction from any quarter?
I hope not. Not as far as I know.
Okay, so let's talk about.
I'm praying not.
Let's talk about data and your capacity to monitor and rein in on illegal dredging. And this is important because of how we have set the tone and established the dangers, not just to human life, but also to ongoing infrastructure work. So what is the capacity of your ministry, your task force to monitor? And do you have a data such that you can know, which company or group are embarking on illegal dredging?
Oh, yeah, as regards, it's easier to have data on companies that have approval to dredge. We try to reduce them, and that's why for the longest time we have not issued the general sand dealing or sand dredging permits. Some will say, oh, you can't use the word permit, you can't. Allowing them to dredge illegally, how does it affect us? Greatly. How strong is you can't say you have experienced life until you have lived it. How strong is the monitoring team, or how big is it? We currently work with the Ministry of Environment. We share the same in terms of support, physical planning. We come together and work with those teams, and that's why we've been able to achieve as much as we have. There's also the whistleblowing aspect of things, right. Where most of the communities have continued to engage us. In the past, I think there was this issue of trust, but that has been eliminated. Now they know that they're protected when they alert us on things. And what I have required or requested of them is for them to be more at ease, to write or get in touch with the office of the commissioner directly, and instantly we swing into action. We continue to make arrests, find out what's going on. There have been cases where we've charged some of them to court. different things off the top.
Are these Nigerian companies or?
Oh yes, they're Nigerian companies. Like I said, it's easy to point accusing fingers at foreign nationals, but the question is, how did they get there? How did they come there? It's not only foreign nationals. The reason why they're the ones who are out there is because their dredging facilities actually work faster. They're in and out quicker than anybody else. That's the only reason. But you find out that it cannot be done without connivance of certain elements in the. I'm not saying all the people in the community. I'm saying some people in the community.
We needed to highlight this conversation because it's important. A lot of times we carry on and forget that the environment that sustains us needs to get all of the attention that it must get. So we're signposting this conversation. Churchdown 1, all of the illegal activities, excessive dredging stops. Because if it continues, hey, we'll all be at the receiving end eventually. So we're going to follow this conversation and see how things improve subsequently under your watch. But there is no way we would have you on the show and not talk politics. Because I'm surprised you're not going back to the National Assembly. That's on the one hand. Are you planning to go back?
Well, for me, the only thing I chose politics from when I was 17 years old. Having watched my father's activities in that. Usually you find out that as a child you're first influenced by your parents.
Absolutely.
And it kind of got my attention. I found it very, very, very interesting. And I decided to, we had an agreement then where when I told my dad what I wanted to do, and he said the first thing to do is just make sure that you're educated to the highest level you can be, and that you have to be dedicated to that. It's a profession. You have to look at it as a profession and be dedicated to it. When it comes to issues of policies, they're not things you joke with. For me, I would rather serve where I'd be most useful, not just to me, but also to the people. That's what will eventually give joy. However, you cannot run or contest for elections without being a part of a party, which means you have to be a team player. And you can only go where you can only play, like in football, you can only play in the position where your coach assigns you to play.
I see. So the coach has assigned you to this position.
I've only used that as an example.
I want to be sure where we're going now.
Yes, the coach I would refer to would be the people and the party. Where they think I would serve the best is where I would be more than happy. Besides, every time I've contested elections, I've for the House of Reps, and I never contested an election once. It's either they cancel it and we have to redo it. I've always ended up having the highest number of votes in the Federation for the House of Reps. Why is that? It's because I enjoy the support of my community and I'll forever remain grateful to them. And there's sometimes you may need to look elsewhere. And sometimes, for example, I was going to run then for the House of Reps, but the party preferred me to serve as commissioner. Thank God for what we've been able to achieve in the Ministry
so
of
there's
Water
an element of Bola on your mandate we shall stand in this coaching redirection.
Why does it have to go to the president? That's why we have leaders in our immediate communities. You have to sit down and look at a lot of things. It's like playing chess. Remember you're representing the party, so if the party thinks you're going to be stronger in this area, I think that's what usually happens.
So are you running?
Well, if the party wants me to, I will. Otherwise, I'm still occupied with something.
But do you want to run?
I would rather study the environment better first of all before I make that decision. You have to be strategic. You have to be clear-minded, and if you think you're better, and besides, I still have a year.
So that's really the heart of the matter. You're still studying the environment, but it looks as if the party has studied the environment and decided on the deputy governor as the preferred candidates to run for governorship in Lagos. So what was it for you before this decision, Ambode or Hamzat?
Well, when you look at it and you realize that it's important, as you're here now, There are different roles in Channels Television, but your role at the moment is to interview me here. When it comes to the administrative part of it, it's left to another department to handle it. For me, that's not my department to determine who the governor is or who the governor will be, and that's why I am a part. I'm a team player in the party. Yeah. There are elders, there are people who are saddled with, why do you have the GAC? I'm not a member of the GAC. When it comes to issues, particularly troubling issues, they have more experience. My dad just turned 90, he's a member of it, the chairman.
And that's where I'm going to exactly, because you're the son of a prominent Baba Bush,
yes.
Who is seen as one of the kingmakers in Lagos. I recall when the deputy governor visited, the emotional moment, which was captured. So for a lot of people, they see Omo Baba Bush in that sense, that they call you down and say, whatever you want, you will most likely get it. If you want to run for the House of Reps, you run. Never mind that we have two powerful women in court now, vying for that. So how do you see this playing out, particularly for Koshofe? You have Baba Bush that you can always go back to, but others also say, we have Baba Bush. So where is this going to swing?
Well, if you know Baba Bush very well, you know that he's one of the Aoists. When you look back, how many members of Awolowo's family ended up contesting in elections? He's also gotten that, he's molded in that, within that framework. You earn things, you earn from him. It's not about personal gains, but what is going to be the best for the party at large and the people, not just the party, but the people. And that's why they've been able to, yes, biologically he's my father, but out politically he's everybody's
So he's not supporting you alone?
He would always throw you in the deep waters and allow you to swim, When he sees you're good enough, then he would support you. Otherwise, he would never impose. He's never imposed a person since I have known him in politics.
I see why you're commissioner for that, because it said swim, so you're swimming in the where you're at right now.
When they sat down, I wasn't even there. When they sat down to choose who they felt would be best as commissioner, I wasn't even there. If I remember, I think I was out of the country. I think I was in Marrakesh or somewhere, and the elders sat down. It was after I returned that I discovered that they made a decision. He didn't say a word there. The GAC members didn't say a word. They threw it out to the leaders to say, who do you think would serve us well? And there were a few names. My name went ahead. Don't forget that I had also contested elections that didn't go, primary elections that didn't go my way.
All right. We hope that Baba Bush is watching, and if he is, we commend his political acumen and for producing, one of the top politicians in Lagos State in the Commissioner for Waterfront Development.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Dayo Bush Alebioshi, for coming on the program. Of course, we'll keep our eyes on that particular issue in Lagos, and we hope to have you back for updates.
I look forward to coming back. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's where we drop the anchor on the show today. Kayode, do we have just one more trend to squeeze in before?
You want to swim into trouble? But no, let us swim into Sunrise Daily, where they have a lot more for you.
Okay.
We're totally out of time, but don't worry, there's a lot more where that came from. I'm Kayode Okikilu.
We'll be back again tomorrow. I am Bukola Koka.